We've improved our register form by adding error handling and form validation, but there's a couple of small errors to take note of. When we try to register with a new user, it's possible to hit submit twice, and as a result our user's registered but we get an error, and we're also not clearing any errors when we have a successful registration. To fix both of these errors, we'll head back up to handle submit, where we'll first move event.prevent default above the isFormValid conditional, and before we reach out to Firebase, we're going to set the state. We're going to clear the errors array, and we're going to set a loading property to true. Now we haven't created this loading property yet, so we'll do that within our state object. Loading will initially be set to false, and we'll set it to true only when we're in the process of registering a user. And when we hit the then part of our promise, we're going to set loading back to false, and if we have any errors in the catch part, we'll set loading to false there as well, since our promise has resolved, although unsuccessfully. And here we can also set our errors object, our errors array, and concatenate the error that we're getting onto it. Now we'll destructure our loading property from state within render and head down to our submit button. We first want to set the class of the button according to the loading value. So we'll give the class name value a ternary, where it'll check to see if loading set to true. If so, we'll give it class of loading, which will put a loading spinner within the button. And we'll also give it the disabled prop, where if loading is true, our button will be disabled, and the user in the process of being registered won't be able to click on the submit button twice. Now if we head back to our form and we have an error, for example, our password is invalid, if we fill this out correctly and hit submit again, we can see that our error is cleared, our button is disabled, and we see our loading spinner, and now we see our new user information. And of course, if we hit submit again, we get our error from Firebase, but now that error is put within our error message too. Additionally, if an error is coming from incorrectly filling out a given input, we can give that input an error class, some error styling. We'll do that in the class name prop, where we'll iterate over all the errors using the SumArray method, and for each error element, we'll take the message property of the error object and convert the text to lowercase just to normalize it, and we'll see using the includes method whether the text for the error includes the name of the input. So in this case, to see if it includes the text email. If so, we'll give it an error class. Otherwise, we won't give it any class. This provides a nice visual indication for our user about where the error is coming from, what they need to change. So if we try to register a new user but supply an email address that's associated with an already registered user, we'll get an error about it. Now we can see visually our email input's red, indicating that something is wrong with it. And we can apply this to our other inputs as well. But in order to make this a bit easier, we'll create this handle input error function. And this function will take a couple of things. First, the errors array, and then the input name, the name of the input that we're on. So we can grab all of the code that we had to determine the class name for our email input, and just replace that with a call to handle input error, where we pass down the errors array and the name of the input email as a string. So now we can paste all that we copied within handle input error and make sure that we return the class based on the value that it computes. And instead of checking to see whether this error message includes just email, we'll pass in the input name parameter to it. So now we can call this function for the class names of both password and password confirmation, and we'll give both of them an input name of password. We could also do the same for username if you like, if you're creating any username specific errors. So to test this out, we'll try registering a new user, but whose password and password confirmation values aren't the same. And we hit submit, and we see our password is invalid and both of our password inputs are highlighted red to indicate an error with them.